Unstuck podcast. I am producer Elizabeth Dennis with psychologist Dr. Cynthia Fincher.
One of the important ways to help someone on the spectrum manage anxiety is helping to separate what is past, what is present, and what is future. When I am looking at something past, that's a memory, and you can't change the past, and sometimes dwelling on past things can set us up for depression. When I am thinking about the future, I am likely to have anxiety, and part of that is one of the ways that people with autism manage their anxiety is that they are running simulations. They are trying to imagine it's either going to be this or this or this. Sometimes people that are very bright can absolutely exhaust themselves trying to imagine every possible outcome. And the fact is that in reality, only one of those outcomes is a possibility. You can't have all the possible outcomes occur at the same time. Most forms of psychology would say that it's important to be able to cope with the here and the now, the here and now. When we are combining past, present, and future, it is overwhelming. It is too much. So we try to narrow down here and now what is in the present. And in the present is in real life, it's right now, and probably what's happening in this moment actually is manageable. If I am re-experiencing past things and trying to cope with the present and trying to guess ahead to the future, that is way too much information. And that movie title, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, is certainly an experience that a lot of people on the spectrum describe having because they are feeling overwhelmed with all those things. I want to describe normal memory as fuzzy memory. And what I mean by that is if I ask you what you ate for breakfast 2 years ago today, you probably do not know. But if I were to ask you what is on the breakfast menu, what breakfast do you know? You probably know all kinds of things about eggs and toast and oatmeal and waffles. Lots and lots of knowledge about breakfast, but probably not the exact specific meal you had 2 years ago today. And that's good. Your brain doesn't need to record every piece of information. It needs to record the things that are the most important. So what I experienced when I was working with autism clients is that not only were they remembering actual traumas as a trauma memory, but they were also experiencing a lot of more moderate events with that full trauma memory. So when we are discussing events in therapy, often the goal is to understand it from a different angle. And there's a difference between talking through, here's what happened, here's what I'm thinking, maybe I can think about it from a different angle. That is very different than a experience of re-experiencing. And so re-experiencing is a traumatic type of experience where someone reviews, goes back through the exact same events. So it's like watching the same scene in a horror movie several times over. And re-experiencing is really not good for us. It's traumatic, it's upsetting. There's kind of a myth out there that what you're supposed to do in therapy is remember the worst thing that ever happened to you, and then you're gonna feel better. Well, probably if you remember the worst thing that ever happened to you, you're gonna feel bad, you're gonna feel terrible. Where we get relief or feel better is when we're able to process it maybe in a different way, or we're able to add other factors. If we think about how I survived that event, or who helped me through that event, or how I'm protecting other people from the event, that modifies the experience, the trauma. When we simply go back through the exact same thing over and over, we are actually re-hurting ourselves. We're causing ourselves pain again and again. So we do need to talk about events, but re-experiencing alone may be re-traumatizing. And because folks on the spectrum can often remember with remarkable clarity, they are more at risk of that re-traumatization. So if you are someone and you think that's what's happening with you, I want to recommend that one of the ways to protect yourself, to reduce anxiety, is to be able to create in your mind a label. Imagine a file, a box, a place that is going to label what happened. If you think about a big dramatic movie and you turn it on at full volume and watch it, turn out the lights, and that movie can be an overwhelming experience. If you put that movie, if it's like a DVD and you put it back in the DVD box, you can put a label on it so you know what's there, but you don't actually have to watch the entire thing each time. And so sometimes we need to have boxes or categories in our mind where we talk about this was a bad experience, or this is a person not to be trusted, or we may want to talk about what's important in it, but we don't want to have the full event happening over and over again. So when people are more resolved about events, sometimes their memory, they've made peace with it, so it becomes more in that fuzzy category. Now, obviously, if something bad happened to you, it's not ever going to be as commonplace as remembering breakfasts, but it doesn't have to be full attention, overwhelming experience. So we may want to think about, how do we divide? When things are anxiety provoking, there are ways to divide them. One first way to divide them is with the time, the past, present, future. Is it here and now? Is it real? Is this a memory? Is this a simulation? Or is this real here and now? Another way that we can divide experience to experience less anxiety is in understanding around the story. This is something that happened, but I'm safe now. This is something I've learned from, and here's how I protect in the future. It is tough to be neurodiverse in a neurotypical world. And so things that can help reduce anxiety are going to improve quality of life. So I hope that these are a couple ideas on how to separate anxiety into smaller piles. And instead of one huge overwhelming experience, we want to section it into smaller pieces which do become manageable.
Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode.